What's going on, everyone? My name is Derknomicon, and today I'm taking a break from the character classes from Oblivion and bringing a suggested build to your attention from subscriber Havanyar204. This is the Eldritch Warlock. This build is a powerful assassin turned mage who sought more and more arcane knowledge, who eventually becomes a devout follower of Hermaeus Mora, or his puppet. When this build isn't sneaking around silently taking out enemies with their bound daggers, the Eldritch Warlock can be seen wielding a bound sword, casting spells to hinder his opponents, and a sickly looking staff that spouts out oozing tentacles, which slows opponents down only to be mind-fucked by a conjured seeker. Has this build piqued your interest yet? If so, I would like to point out the navigation links in the description that will help you fast travel to certain parts of the video for your viewing pleasure. Now let's delve deep into this otherworldly build, shall we? Starting off, we have the chosen race for this said build. I went with the Dark Elf, and Dark Elves begin the game with a +5 bonus in light armor, sneak, alchemy, illusion, and alteration, along with a +10 into destruction. The Dunmer also have a unique race ability called Ancestor's Wrath, which, when cast, surrounds the character in fire for 60 seconds once per day. Also, they have their unique racial effect, which grants them a permanent 50% resistance to fire damage. Alright, now let's go over the standing stones. After emerging from the destruction of Helgen and making your way to the first set of standing stones outside of Riverwood, grab the Mage Stone. This stone is going to help level up the Eldritch Warlock quickly and effectively. Once this build reaches roughly level 15 to 20, you must decide on the endgame standing stone. The two choices are, and you're going to be surprised when you hear this, the Atronach Stone and the Lord Stone. I know, your minds are freaking blown, right? But seriously, these two stones are perfect choices for the build, and I think each should be taken into consideration depending on which faction you choose to join in the Dawnguard DLC. Speaking of factions, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this build is an assassin turned mage. So the factions that came to mind first were the Dark Brotherhood, which allows you to still remain true to the roots of the Eldritch Warlock, going out and fulfilling contracts to fill his pockets with coin. Then, the College of Winterhold, to begin his journey to unlock the secrets of Nirn, Oblivion, and anything in between. Next, we have to make a choice between the two main factions that hinder us from moving on in the main storyline: the Empire and the Stormcloaks. I couldn't really decide who the Eldritch Warlock should have fought for, because the Stormcloaks hate the Dunmer, and so do the Altmer, who are basically running the Empire. So for role-playing purposes, you must decide on whether you want to prove the Nords wrong, or prove the Aldmeri Dominion that the Dark Elves are the superior race of elves. Lastly, we have the war between good and evil, light versus darkness, man versus monster, etc, etc, etc. Do you want to support the realm of man and keep out the plague of bloodsuckers from possibly wiping out the living? Or do you seek more knowledge as a servant of Hermaeus Mora and infiltrate one of Molag Bal's most prized creations? The choice is yours, and I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Moving on to the stats, the Eldritch Warlock used to be more agile in his younger years, but with time and dedication he pursued ancient knowledge and learned more powerful spells that would turn the tide of battle at moment's notice. For this build we will be putting 50% into Magicka, 30% into health, and 20% into stamina. The Eldritch Warlock is going to be casting many spells, and having a large magical pool is going to help him cast as many spells that are needed to keep him alive. Over the years, his health and stamina have been weakening, and the Warlock can't decide if this is the effect of time, or if it's Hermaeus Mora draining him. Now onto the gear. I'm sure you noticed a theme going on with this build. A bit Lovecraftian, right? Precisely! We're going to make this build look a bit like a cultist, but more of a badass. So to begin from the top, we have Mirak's Mask, light armor version with the increased Magicka by 70 points buff. For the armor, we are going to go with the Archmage's Robe. These robes grant a 15% reduction in cost to all magic spells cast, along with +50 to Magicka and a +100% Magicka regen. We will be wearing the Shrouded Hand Wraps from the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary, which doubles one-handed sneak attack damage. And lastly, for the feet, the Shrouded Shoes will fit, which grants the wearer a muffled movement bonus. As for the jewelry, we will be going with Savos Aran's Amulet, which increases the Eldritch Warlock's magic by another 50 points, and for the ring, the Nightweaver's Band, which increases sneak and destruction by 10 points each. Lastly, we have the weaponry for this build. We will be using summoned spells for our blades, and for the icing on the cake, Mirak's Staff, which when used sprays withering tentacles on the ground that stagger and poison foes that enter them. Pretty awesome, right? Right. Alright, it's time to go over the skills. In the Sneaks tree, we will be going with 5 in Stealth, Backstab, Deadly Aim, Assassin's Blade, Muffled Movement, Lightfoot, Silent Roll, Silence, and Shadow Warrior. In the one-handed skill tree, we'll be going all 5 Armsmen, Fighting Stance, all 3 of Bladesmen, both of Dual Flurry, Dual Savagery, and Savage Strike. Over in the Conjuration skill tree, we'll be going from Novice up to Expert, grab Mystic Binding, Soul Stealer, Oblivion Binding, and both of Summoner. In the Destruction skill tree, go from Novice up to Expert, grab both of Augmented Shock, and Disintegrate. Then in the Alteration skill tree, Novice to Expert, Alteration Dual Casting, all 3 have Magic Resistance, Stability, and Atronach. Then in the Illusion skill tree, Novice to Expert, Hypnotic Gaze, Aspect of Terror, Rage, Animage, Kindred Mage, Quiet Casting, and Master of the Mind. And then last but not least, we have Restoration. Novice up to Expert, Regeneration, Necromage, Respite, both have Recovery, and Avoid Death. The Eldritch Warlock has always had to rely on one person in his life, himself. Nothing got him through his early years except his will to survive. But that all changed when he found Hermaeus Mora, or Hermaeus Mora found him. So after becoming a follower of the Daedric Prince of Fate, Knowledge and Memory, Hermaeus Mora grants you the power to conjure one of his children to aid you in battle. Alright, and then the last thing I'm going to go over are the spells this build will be using. Those include Frenzy, Rout, Paralyze, Ebony Flesh, Equilibrium, Bound Dagger, Bound Sword, Conjure Seeker, and Chain Lightning. And that brings it into the Eldritch Warlock build, an assassin turned cult leader of Hermaeus Mora. I want to give thanks to Havanyar204 for presenting the concept of this build to me, and I hope that this individual enjoys the build. Heck, I hope you all enjoy the build and try it out for yourself. Please leave a like or dislike on the video and let me know what you thought about today's build. If you watched the video all the way to this point, I want to personally thank you for helping me keep this dream alive. Also, if you have friends or family who enjoy Skyrim character builds, please share this video with them, and as always, I will see you in the next video.